It's quite ironic you've been doing that with all the space stuff that's been going on. Okay, let's have a little look. Just check we're live.
We always are.
I know. I can't help it.
We are. I've had the notification.
Awesome. Okay, let's go. Yeah, hey everyone. It's Andy here and Dave from EverTrek HQ. Another Tuesday tune-in. And this week, I know, as always, we like to start off with a particular subject and then go into the regular Q&As. But if you have joined us, do give us a little thumbs up. Do comment just to sort of introduce yourself onto the live. Chris, Sinead, Dave, Miko. Always great to see you guys on here.
EverTrek.
You obviously put this in your diary because you're always on it. So yeah, it's great to see you all again. And today is all about base layers.
Yep.
Base layers, Dave. Where do we start?
Well, yeah, I think layering, really, right? Layering. You know,
the different layers we use on a high altitude trip. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's only because the base layer is probably the most important thing that you wear on the trip because it sits next to your skin. Yeah. So it does the hardest work of keeping you warm or keeping you cool. But it forms part of like a system. Now, reason why we want to talk about it is we've had a lot of inquiries about what the right down jacket is and things like that. And what we try and do is not only give a recommendation on a specific garment, but also tell you like why it's useful and how you use it, so you know how to get the best out of it. Because staying comfortable on the mountain never comes down to one piece of equipment. Never. If your down jacket is the only thing you've got to keep you warm, it may not be sufficient. If you get too warm, you're going to sweat and it's going to have a counter effect. So layering, base layers, mid layers, outer layers. They're the main things we're going to talk about.
Nice. Great to see some more people coming on. Mick, great to see you on here, mate. And happy birthday for the other day. I hope you had a nice time. David Redding, Rob, always great to see lots of EverTrekkers on the live. Guys, I know lots of you are already on previous lives, but any questions, just fire them away. So me and Dave got some questions to answer. Our social Yeti Lauren is manning the live as well, or womaning the live. She'll be sort of forwarding any questions onto us just in case we have any tech issues like we've had over the last couple of lives. Okay, so starting base layers, layering system. Yes, I don't know why I'm so focused on base layers because it's
well, no, you're right to be, because like I said, it's the one thing that sits next to your skin, so it's got the hardest job, now it should like almost fit like really tight and hug the body. That means that any sweat that's being produced is immediately being absorbed out from your skin through the base layer and then into the world, so it doesn't sit next to your skin. It makes a huge difference. When we were going up Killy in February, I used some merino wool base layers. Yeah, they were brilliant, really, really good. I always use long sleeve ones, and I like the ones with the zip as well.
I noticed a bit of chest hair lingering on the way up to Killy, Dave. So I noticed that. It's good to have a little bit of a zip there, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, I like to channel my inner Hasselhoff, and like pull the zip down, as I'm going up the hill. But honestly, and most of the time I just track in my base layer, so that's all I'll use during the day because I run quite hot. But in my bag, I'll always carry a complete layering setup. So every day I'll have the base layer on. I'll have like a lighter fleece usually in there, and then a rain jacket or a down jacket, depending on where I am on the mountain. And those three things is, a key really. And that was really brought into focus on Kilimanjaro because particularly on summit night, when we set off, it was dark, it was freezing cold. When we were on the top, it was freezing cold. And when we got back down to the bottom, it was like 28 degrees.
Yeah, it was crazy. I know it. And that's the thing. I think, I know you talked about Killy there, but anywhere in Nepal, where we go to Everest Base Camp, Island Peak, Mera Peak, high passes, like you start off in the day and it's always the same. Like we usually sort of start off about 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock, depending on how the group are. Normally we have kind of, roughly that sort of time. And it's cold because the sun hasn't quite risen over the peaks yet, because don't forget where you are, the Himalayas, the peaks are so high. It does take an hour or so for the light to shine through. So it's still quite chilly. You'll literally start in, your warm gear, and within sort of 20, 30 minutes, next thing you know, you're kind of, you're taking them off and you're down to, either your mid layer with a fleece or down to sort of your base layer or a t-shirt. And you're right, yeah, it's good to pack for all weathers. I think one thing we've learned from sort of on all the trips is that it can be like the UK, whereas we can see all 4 seasons within an hour sometimes in the UK.
Yeah.
Like I was on the Glen Shiel Ridge weekend before last. And yeah, we literally saw, I think the first summit, because there's 7 Munros there. The first one, beautiful sunshine. The second one, a little bit cloudy. Third one, torrential rain. And then the next one, literally half hour later, was sunshine again. And it was kind of, you're on, you're off, you're putting the jacket on, you're taking it off. And I think, yeah, when you're on a high altitude trek, you need to be prepared to be changing a lot like that. And it does slow you down as well, I think, which is a benefit when you're at high altitude to take your time. Which is something we kind of focus on. Some people coming on here as well. I'm just going through any questions you can see. Oh, yeah, I think we should actually say before we go into the questions. And I think who brought it up there? I believe it was. I can't see who typed about it, but it Lauren Fee, who is the Bimblin Yeti. She started yesterday, and she's hiding in the office somewhere. She's actually in your room, isn't she, Dave?
Yeah, I know Jerome has said hello to the Yetis, and I think Yetets. How would you say?
Yetets. Wow, yeah, that's really good.
Would you say a Yetet for a female Yeti? I'm looking at some females for confirmation. Oh yeah, sorry. So I should say that in front of me I have the Yetets. I'm looking for confirmation, and I'm not.
What was the question?
Sorry, the question is how would you like to be referred to? So a Yeti or a Yetet?
I do quite like Yetet.
Okay, we're getting a thumb up from Yetet from Lauren. Bimbler, what do you think?
I think in the interest of equality, it should be Yeti.
Oh wow, okay. So like actresses and actors actresses are actors now. Okay, so we've got 2 conflicting opinions here. I think the only way that the Yetets and the Yetis, you could
be careful how you say that.
Actually, I have got Betty the Yeti, so
I think
Yeti means one, Lauren.
I think it's great to have Fia as a member of the team. She brings a lot of different energy and passion to the business. So yeah, really excited. I'm definitely going to try and get her on one of the lives soon, although I haven't told her yet, David. But in the future, definitely.
You have. She knows.
She knows. I know.
She's leaving the office with a bag.
Never mind.
So yeah, we're hiring for a new Bimblin, yeah.
Very good. Right, some questions coming in then. Let's have a look. Someone mentioned is Ben Nevis really good for training for high altitude? I'm just going to look for that question again because
Warren Anthony Day said, is Ben Nevis good preparation for EBC? I think so. Yeah, I think it's pretty good actually. There are a lot of things on Ben Nevis that are sort of similar to the EBC trail. Ben Nevis is like a big wedge of a mountain, so it's not very steep, so to speak, but it is stepped and rocky. So the terrain is actually quite similar. The one thing about Ben Nevis, I would say, I did Ben Nevis last July. It was an amazing thing, but it's very busy, especially if you go up what they call the tourist trail, which is like the standard trail. It's very, very busy. I actually went up the CMD route, and it was only myself and 4 of my friends that were on that route. So once you go up there, you go up about a third of the way, then you shoot off to the left up to the mountain hut and go along the ridge up past the north face. I would say if you go in, make sure you bring someone with you. If you do the CMD route, someone that knows it and has done it before. Otherwise, there are loads of Munros up that neck of the woods that you can go hiking on. But I think just in terms of the terrain, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sinead has put a few there who obviously knows Scotland really well. In terms of I want to say some of these, but I know I'm going to get them wrong. So I'm just going to leave them there. So if you do want to sort of Google any of these peaks, Glencoe is fantastic, Dave. I know we did the Glencoe challenge last year. Yeah. There's a lot of peaks there which you can climb Munros. And I got to get this right because I was told off by my Scottish friends. I keep calling valleys, not glens. So I kept getting corrected there. But yeah, so there's plenty of glens to go walking in. And it's great. I think ultimately, if you're going on a trip like Everest Base Camp, Kili, Machu Picchu, Toubkal, wherever you're going to go, Island Peak even, Mera Peak, it's just about getting the time spent out in the mountains. It doesn't have to be anything technical. It's just getting out there, pack on your back, doing some mileage, building the strength in your legs, enjoying the mountain time, and just getting used to it. Like I've noticed a few comments here around, you know, do I need to cool down before I change layer? It can be quite complicated, but keep it nice and easy. If you're, you know, if you're getting too hot, take something off. If you're getting too cold, put something on.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, your body knows where it's comfortable. So I think that was Haley that asked that. Haley Lou Brimble said, if walking in just a base layer and you get hot, when you stop for a rest, is it important to layer up in order to cool down? So I think, yeah, you know, when you know, your grandmother always says, you know, like when you like sweating and you cool down to put something on. Personally, when I'm really hot and I stop for a rest, if someone tried to put a jacket on me, that's when the fight would break out. So basically, what I do is like, and you know, sometimes feeling cold after a hot day's trekking can be almost pleasant. But what I do is, like Andy just said, I keep it simple. I let my body make the decision for me. If I'm hot, I'll stop and cool down. The moment I start feeling like my skin is cold, you know, because of the evaporation of the sweat and stuff, then I might put a jacket on then, just to prevent me getting like a chest cold or anything like that. But you know, there's nothing. You know, although the layering system itself is quite scientific, it's based on a human body, which, you know, is, you know, the 7.5 billion of us, we're all different, you know. But I think Andy says, keep it simple, listen to your body. If you're cold, put something on to stay warm. If you're warm, take something off to stay cool. And there are lots of different methods. Like I run hot, so most of my knowledge is about trying to stay cool. You know, staying warm is easy. I just put my down jacket on. When I try and stay cool, the merino wool base layers are really good about that. Sun hats and keeping my head out of the sun will keep you a lot cooler and stop you sweating so much. So yeah, there are some big things like that that make a huge difference.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, it's like you said, Dave, you run hot, I run a bit sort of cooler, so I don't sweat as much as Dave. So we are different. You know, there's sometimes that I've got layers on and Dave's just wearing a t-shirt, you know. So it depends on you really. And again, as I said earlier about getting out there before you go on a big trek, is just spending time in the UK or, you know, whatever, you know, because we get a lot of EverTrekkers from the US now, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, India. And it's just getting out there and seeing what works for you. You know, it's good. Like sometimes I'll take, you know, if we're going down, what we actually take, like say on an average day. So I'll have a base layer, you know, which they call, other people call it your skin layer. I'll have, you know, a fleece. I'll then have maybe a windbreaker, which is basically something to just keep the wind off. I'll have a waterproof. And as a last resort, I'll also have my down jacket in there, because the down jackets, you know, they do scrunch quite down really well. They're really light, but you know, if it does get chilly, if you do get cold, if the weather comes in, if maybe you take longer than planned and maybe you're coming down in the dark, you've got something just to, you know, keep you warm. And that is pretty much what you need on Everest Base Camp for Kili. Kili on summit night surprises some people. It's colder than people think, especially if it's windy. So like something I never really do is hike in my down jacket. It's just too warm. If anything, I'll hike with a base layer, a mid-range, which is you know, a fleece, then my waterproof, just, you know, it's Gore-Tex, so it kind of works that way for me. But the down jacket, but actually on Kili, because it was so damn cold, I had the down jacket and I had my waterproof over my down jacket. I've never done that. But you know, again, it's good to have it with you, and it's not exactly a lot of weight to carry, just in case it's you need it.
Yeah, we should say as well that some part of layering that often gets sort of overlooked as well is looking at your extremities as well. So hands, head, feet. So again, I tend to use a lightweight merino sock or something like that. So because my feet get hot and sweaty and swell, so I think a lightweight is fine for me. I did notice that Haley said she thinks of wool as itchy. Merino wool is not your typical sort of 1930s farmer's woolly jumper or like one of those itchy blankets. It's not like that at all. It's like normally it's a blend between merino wool and synthetic stuff. It's really soft. And I do actually have some synthetic ones, some rab ones as well that are really mega lightweight. They're almost like if you hold them up, you can see the sun go through them. Merino wool, I find though, just gets the best out of me because I sweat a lot. So what I'm mostly concerned with when I'm trekking is getting that sweat off my skin, because then that'll keep me relatively stable when I cool down. But also, gloves. they were key on Killy. So I actually had some Montaigne. They were like little down jackets, Prima Loft for your hands. I think it's called Prima Loft.
Was that the gloves you used,
That's
Dave?
the gloves I wear, yeah. And they were brilliant. But, you know, having something to go up over your mouth and nose as well, because we all had like icicles on our mustache and beards and stuff, you know, so.
Well, the ladies didn't, but it was still damn cold. Yeah, we were quite lucky with these beards sometimes because, you know, can get quite chilly, which is why the EverTrek buff is so useful.
Yeah.
You know, when and another thing, obviously, you've got all these layers, but one of the most important things, especially at high altitude, is maintaining your body, if you like, and a part of that is looking after your core. So whether that's a hat, whether that's a buff, and whether that's, you know, this bit here, you know, unless you're Hasselhoff over here, who likes to have his chest air out, you know, then you actually I can't say anything because I know I do it as well. But yeah, it's looking after the core because, you know, you don't want to catch a cold. It's always, you know, we've caught colds at a high altitude. It's not nice. It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
You know, so make sure you're maintaining your health by looking after the core is massively important. Like some people, I don't really wear them, but you've got gilets just to look after here because your arms and legs kind of look after themselves sometimes. But it's your torso and your core that can get really cold. So I know I do see some people wearing like a down gilet or maybe a windbreaker gilet just to sort of, you know, look after the core a bit. Patrick has asked a good question, actually. Any advice? Hey, Patrick, I haven't seen you on the lives before, so thanks for joining us. Any advice if getting too hot when it's sunny or how to keep cool? Dave?
Yeah, Patrick, I think I'm the same as you, and I think I saw Paula Reed say she can't wear a down jacket as well because she runs too warm, but she's bringing one for Killy just in case. Right, Patrick, this is like my biggest problem when I go trekking is that I run seriously hot. I'm hot now. You know,
it is warm today. It is.
So yeah, to be honest, you have to kind of start looking after yourself. So with layering is how I manage it.
Yeah.
So I'll always, when I trek, I'll have like probably a second base layer in my bag. So I'll start off with a really lightweight base layer. You know, trekking shorts are always a good answer. Basically, it's about stripping off as much as you can, but whilst also, you know, sheltering yourself in some key areas. So one of the things I always do, Andy laughs at me, is I wear like, you know, the bucket sun hat. By wearing the bucket, yeah, by wearing that, like, so it's an OR outdoor research bucket hat is what it is. It makes a big difference. It keeps the sun off your head and keeps your head cool, and that goes a long way to making you feel a lot better. But it's all about layering. So I'll never wear like a heavy base layer, but I'll always have one in my bag just in case.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing that I can say. I actually, weirdly, Lauren mentioned earlier, she was on Amazon looking for a desk fan, and she found this like a band that goes around your neck that fires air into your face.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, I'm intrigued and I'm going to look into it. Because, I mean, it might dry your eyes out a bit, but I think, yeah, I have seen some like cool T-shirts as well. So they're actually designed to keep your body cooler and things. I've not used them, and I think they're crazily expensive. I know Nike had one. But yeah, look into that. I also, just to Paula, you will definitely need a down jacket for Killy. So I had one. The only time I wore it was on Summit Day, but without Summit Day without my jacket on Summit Day, honestly, I probably would have turned around.
Yeah,
it was that cold. So
it was cold, isn't it?
Yeah, so definitely bring one.
Nice. Yeah, I know Jerome, who's on the live as well, and always on the live, which was great to see you on the live, Jerome. Mentioned his gilet was super useful on Killy, and I think if you're going to look after, you know, your core, a gilet is a go-to option. Some really good questions coming in though, guys. Laura has asked. Let's have a little look. Where's Laura? There she is. Laura's asked: is layering up at night recommended? Yeah, it's again, it's whatever works for you. Like I know some people can, like especially on the Everest Base Camp trek or in the Everest region, when you're staying at tea houses and lodges, they're actually surprisingly warm. As you do get higher, it does get a bit colder. We're not, not going to lie to you, but sometimes if you're in like your sleeping bag or your liner, some people do like to just go skins. Just wear your pants or knickers and skin out, and because it can be quite warm. And then other people will wear maybe like a little sort of layer, whether that's like long johns. But as you get higher, lots of people then tend to basically kind of wear everything that they're going to wear in the day. It's almost like your trekking suit. So you literally get out of bed and you're already dressed. Because it's so cold, you're kind of wearing your clothes in bed. It is what it is. And, we've all done it. And, you're not going to be on your own if you do that. Because it can get chilly. And if sleeping bag you've got isn't quite up to it, or it's just a really cold night, it does happen. And some nights are colder than others, depending on what time you go. Yeah, wear your trekking suit. I think that'll do you good.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like base camp in October when we woke up and there was like ice on the windows and things like that. I literally sort of unzipped my bag, moved my feet off the bed into my trekking boots, and I was like, right, ready to go. That's how dressed I was. I didn't notice someone say layering up, thought it was spooning. Lewis, whatever happens in the mountain stays on the mountain, mate. So you do what you need to do to stay warm. Body heat will get you out of some situations. They don't forget you.
Good point though, Dave. Yeah. I'm not spooning. Just to let you know.
Well, let's see how cold it gets first, maybe.
Very good, very good. No, some. I think Lauren, Social Yeti's put the little link there to that rechargeable traveling fan. Just if anyone's interested, definitely have a little look. But yeah, it's the same with with Killy as well, isn't it? It can be quite cold in the evenings, but during the day it's just super warm, isn't it?
It was when we were there. Yeah, I think in February during in the mornings and the evenings it was a little bit cold, not crazy. Yeah. Nothing like I've experienced in the UK really, except for Summit Night. Summit Night was freezing. But that was because it was dark, it was windy, we were at nearly 6,000 meters, so it's going to be cold, that's a given. But yeah, most times it was okay, relatively comfortable. I think like anything though, it's very changeable. Like Andy mentioned earlier, even in the UK, we can get all 4 seasons in a day. Yeah. That's what you should prepare for, because no one knows exactly what the weather's going to do in the Himalaya or on Kilimanjaro or anywhere really. It can change on a 6. So I think, that's why I always have a little bit of backup in my bag. The things these days like base layers and fleeces, they don't weigh much. They pack down quite small. So putting them in the bag is no biggie. So that's generally what I'll always do. I also have a routine where if it's raining, I'll put a spare base layer in my bag, and then halfway through the day, I'll literally get changed and put a dry one on. It makes you feel incredible, putting on something dry when everyone else is soaking. So yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, while we're talking about spoons, I think Laura is advertising for one for her trip. So anyone that's kind of interested, not that we're a connecting agency or anything like that, go ahead. Anyone comment? I'm sure Laura will be able to say.
Laura, you are braver than me putting that.
I know, that's good.
I apologize in advance for any sort of direct messages you get after this one.
Jerome's had a good question actually, and I think Jerome, I did see. I think you might have put this in the group around the bladder, the Osprey bladder. I've actually used that one. They're very good. It's I've had mine for a few years now, so it's I am due an upgrade. But they do last for a while. So yeah, perfect for your trip in October next year. There's many around, in terms of bladders and things. I think the Osprey ones are definitely some of the best. I've used Osprey. I think one is it the Platypus? Is it the Camelback? They have their own version. Yeah. But yeah, mine's 2.5 liters. Works fine. I've used it on Everest Base Camp Killy. So yeah, Jerome, you won't go far wrong if that's what you're going to order. Go for it. I know Dave, the second product you've asked there about the Anchor Power Core. I don't know what generation that is, but they're good.
Yeah, so I've got that 20,000 one. To be honest, I'd be inclined, because you're not going till October 2021, is to wait and hang out for the 26,800. Normally they're $49.99, but you can get them. They're always on offer about 4 or 5 times a year, where you can get them for £30, and the difference is quite a lot. It's a bit of a beast in terms of its size and everything, but I've bought 2 of those, and I charge my phone every day, and I use it a lot, and it lasted the whole trip. For instance, I didn't even have to charge my phone in Kathmandu. From the wall socket, I just used those things. So my advice would be, hang fire and wait until if 2 weeks before you go, you still haven't caught a deal, order the 20,100. But hold fire.
That's a lot of power in that as well. You're talking 6, 7 phone chargers in there. They're really good now.
I think I've got 6 of them now because I keep buying them whenever they're on offer. No, 5, because I think I gave one to you, Anne. But then word gets out on the hill that you've got these things, and then before you know it, I'm charging cameras and phones. So.
Definitely. When we do have the store that's, just to put out there, because I know you're kind of looking for these things. Over the coming weeks and months, when we're updating the store on the members area, these products will be showing in there as well. So definitely have a little look. Obviously it's up to you. Go for it. As Dave said, it's kind of one of those things you can get nearer the time, especially because they're constantly updating them to new specs. But they do the job. If you're going to get them now and there's a good deal, why not? Niaz put a good question actually around down jackets, around the rating, and you've got maybe a casual version. So I mean, with down jackets, we have done a whole Tuesday tune-in, and we've also done podcast episodes. I think if Lauren can maybe copy the link to those, just goes in a bit more depth. But just to answer your question while we're on here, with regards to the down jacket you need for Everest Base Camp, you can get away with like a 600 to 700 fill. You've got something like the Rab Microlight Alpine springs to mind. That's kind of I'd say low to mid range in terms of the heat. Then you've got the one that Dave's got, which is is it the Mountain Equipment Light Line?
That's
jacket?
It. Yeah, really good jacket because it's not one that you'd probably want to wear casually because you do look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but it's definitely warm and it's a really good price for what you get as well. So it's usually on offer between 190 and 220. The Mountain Equipment Light Line, I think that's the best sort of one you can get at the moment. That's sort of in that price range. You can go crazy on down jackets, and I've known people spend £600-700 on them. It's not necessary to go to that extent for trips like Tubkal, EBC, or Tanzania. But I probably would recommend getting something a little bit like the Light Line, something with a big puff. Because remember, this isn't. We want to stay warm when we put them on. We only put them on when we need them, and we want them to do the job. I think I've used a lighter one before. I had the Montaigne one.
They're really nice. Yeah, they're really nice jackets, aren't they?
Yeah, so that was okay, but probably on the cusp of what I would have liked. Any colder and I probably wouldn't have got on with it. I think it just kept me warm enough. But the Light Line, really good.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's good. Big question because we could go on about down jackets. All day. But it's one of those things that if you want to spend say £200-300 on a jacket just for your trip, and then you don't wear it because it's, like I said, it doesn't look casual, and also maybe it's too hot for the UK. Because that's one thing I've got a really thick jacket. They don't sell it anymore. I bought it, I think it was back in 2015. I think it's called the Rab Infinity Endurance Pro Endurance. They've got different variants of it now. And it's an awesome jacket. I love it. I've sent it to Rab, had it repaired because I just love it. But the fact is I don't really wear it much in the UK because it's just too big. It's too warm. Unless it's the real depths of Scotland in winter. And, it is in my bag because it's so light, but I hardly wear it, so you've got to kind of justify that to yourself. Whereas if you buy one that's more, how do we say it? You can use it maybe in the autumn and the spring as well. Maybe it's worth thinking around that. But any specific ones, it's always good. Drop us a line. If you want to email us, info@evertrek.co.uk or anything like that, just drop us a line. Always drop in the group as well, Niaz, High Altitude EverTrekkers, because I know people who've come on our trips, people who are going on our trips. Obviously us, we do look at the posts on there as well. If you've got any specifics, you're like, guys, what do you think? I'm going to buy it. Just drop it in there.
Yeah, I think Lauren put a post up about something we've written about it before as well, by the looks of it. Comment, so that's awesome. I did notice someone asked a question then, Kirsty, do I keep the power bank in my pack during the day when I'm hiking? No, too heavy. Just unnecessary weight, really. As long as you charge it and it's fully charged in the morning, most days, like you're not trekking for that long, like 7-8 hours is probably the maximum. Unless it's like Summit Day on Killy or Everest Base Camp Day. The big focal point of the trip is usually a long day. But even then, my phone will last plenty enough, So I leave it back in the duffel bag and I get it when I go back to the room. because they're quite weighty, at least probably a kilo, I think, maybe. It weighs about as much as maybe half a kilo, something like that. About the weight of a half a litre of water, I think, is about the power bank weight. So now,
yeah, some of them can be quite dense, can't they? But Dave Rimington, Dave, always great to see you on the live. You've asked a question actually I don't think we've had on all these. I think this is our 20th Q&A now that we've done since the beginning of lockdown. Apart from getting my fat head down, the tyrant Dave, what else is there to do in the evenings? It's a really good question actually. Yeah, it's one of those, and you're right. If you have got the energy, depends where you are. The first couple of days, you're quite low down. You might feel a bit perky, and you're going into. I mean, for instance, if we're talking about Everest Base Camp here, or the Everest region, you've got Namche. Namche is the largest village in the area of the Everest region, and they've got heaps of bars and heaps of places like coffee shops, restaurants, cafes where you can hang out. If you've got the spare time, and on some of the days, like the acclimatization day, if you head into Everest Base Camp, you've got some time in the afternoon, you can go. There's loads of trekking shops. The Irish pub's always good, although we do recommend you do that on the way down.
Yeah.
We know lots of EverTrekkers haven't and do it on the way up. But, you're adults, it's up to you. But we're always talking about leave the alcohol to the way down. But yeah, so you can go there, you can go to a cafe, eat some German bakeries, some pool halls. It's actually quite hard playing pool at high altitude, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, exactly. We had a game of snooker in Dingboche, and it felt like a bit of a like a full combat sport, basically. Getting up and down to take the shot. But to one thing, I think cards. There's for some reason, if I have ever been on, there's a Sports Direct pack of cards flying around. But yeah, you could be the Nepalese game Dumball, so you can speak to the guides and stuff, and they'll teach you that. Uno was really popular on Kilimanjaro when I went there. With plenty of rows about Uno. To be honest, yeah, it's up to you. Like most times when I arrive at a new place, so I'll get back to the room, freshen up a little bit, have something to eat, then go for a walk. Just have a little look around the village. I'm a big believer in like an active rest at altitude. Yeah. So when you get to a new point, even if you feel a bit rough and a bit tired, I think getting up and moving around,
good point.
Helps. So just going for a little exploration, see the shops. Like Andy said, most of the places you stop at have bakeries and stuff. If you're on Kilimanjaro and you're just going from camp to camp, have a walk around the camp, take some pictures. Yeah. Most of the time is probably spent in like the mess tent, playing cards, exchanging war stories, showing pictures, that type of thing. So you'll know what to do. You'll fall into it, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. I've been on trips where it's just me. Before starting the business, I kind of went on my own. And yeah, it's certainly nice when you've got the group there to kind of have the banter with, the energy and the card games and things. But I did. I've always been quite into my travel writing. So for me, I did a journal, I did a blog. So if you're into that, it's quite cool in the evenings just to spend an hour writing about your day, how you felt, what you saw, what you experienced, who you met, how you feeling at the time. Just to sort of document. I know lots of EverTrekkers keep journals of the day-to-day things so they can look back on it. Just something else that you can do. But I think most of the time, you're going to be knackered after some of the days. So fair dues if you do.
Ramona has said Herman's Bakery in Nacho is really good. I've never been to Nacho. Oh, Namche, brilliant. So
I was thinking, Dave, did you say that wrong?
No, I was gonna tease her about it, but then she corrected herself, so I thought I'll let her off on that one. But yeah, so awesome. I did notice just on layering again, Tamarin has asked with regards to fleeces, is a 285 GSM fleece too big?
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I normally go for like 100 weight, something like that, because I like a lightweight one. So normally there's like 100, 200, 300. So 285, 300. I think it might be a bit overkill, but it depends on if you like to stay warm or not. Like I know some people that will wear a down jacket and a 300 weight fleece, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is lovely," and I'll be looking at them like you're crazy. But it's about remember, it's not one thing that fits all in terms of like your comfort level. So it's about getting some experience. So you need to go out and hike and train anyway. So get a fleece, try it, work it out, see if it works for you when you're in the mountains, and you'll get a feel for what you like. I sort of just go out every day, you know, not every day, but I try to go out as often as I can. And yeah, that's how I learned what worked for me.
Yeah, I think we got Laura asked about socks as well. Yeah, important layer for the feet. So yeah, good point for bringing that up. So any recommendations for those with cold feet, or just to get a decent thick pair? Yeah, I mean, with socks, you know, if you ever going to go outdoors or you're looking online, there's so many different options out there. I always stick to kind of the ones I know. Like I use merino wool quite a lot. You know, unless you're kind of allergic to it or anything, really good socks, because even if you sweat, it kind of wicks away the sweat, so you don't get damp feet. They have levels, so if you ever go into go outdoors, Cotswold Outdoors, Ellis Brigham, you know, whether you go to Decathlon, wherever they sell socks, you'll see that they have ones for like trekking, they have ones for like winter, you know, to kind of lean on that as well, give you an idea. You know, because I know there's varying different levels, and again, it's you know, like Dave, I know that you don't really like too thick, do you? Because then you sweat too much.
I tend to buy, so for me, like I'll use like a lightweight pair. I like smart wool, a really good
Yeah,
quite expensive. Anything merino wool is quite expensive, by the way, but I've learned over time that it's worth the money if you want to invest it, you know, in something like that. So I always use icebreaker or smart wool boxer shorts, smart wool or Bridgedale merino wool socks, and icebreaker base layers. Now, like I said, they're crazy expensive. You know, you can buy probably 2 or 3 normal base layers for the price of one, but it'll last 2 or 3 times longer. It's antimicrobial, so it doesn't stink, you know, and yeah, so that's what I recommend. I think the Bridgedale ones, like I said, I'm not a gear snob, you know, so I don't want to go for the best and most expensive all the time. But, you know, I've tried these base layers before, and if you're still soaking wet at the end of the day after you've been stood still for an hour, then that you're going to get cold, your core's going to get cold. With merino wool, I've noticed that, you know, it's dry within sort of half an hour of stopping, and that means my skin is dry. It means that all the moisture has come off my skin through the base layer, evaporated into the air, and yeah, that's great. I did notice, just by the way, someone asked about a Gurkha kukri knife, and that just caught my attention. What
I bet that did. Where is that? That's probably towards the bottom, eh?
No, Lawrence passed it to me. So bright. Oh, right. Okay. See, yeah. I thought they were going to ask, like, should a Gurkha knife be part of my kit? But it was Brian Griss asking, what's the bottle behind me? Is it a Gurkha kukri? So
it is.
Yeah. So this was a gift from Anuj, head of operations in Nepal. It's actually a bottle of kukri rum. It's upside down there. So yeah. So,
you need to drink that.
Yeah. So it's a Coronation kukri rum.
You can try some of that in Nepal, right?
It's such a nice thing to have. So it kind of sits there. And one day I'll drink it, I think. Maybe when I've summited Everest, I'll come back and neck that bottle.
Yeah, definitely. It's worth it, isn't it? Some other questions coming in here, guys. Actually, one. I'm gonna bring this one up because where is it? I think it's Chris. Hey, Chris. Yeah, cheers for your message about November this year. I think you know, will it go ahead? I know you've heard a lot of different things. Yeah, we've had countless meetings with our team in Nepal, because we know Nepal's quite challenging at the moment with regards to, one, their airport still isn't open, and it was due to open in 6 days, and they pushed that now to the end of the month. It's not a good sign by doing that. Also, you know, with regards to the PCR tests on arrival, so even if you get one in the UK and you're allowed on the plane, and you're allowed through, and you're allowed then to get a visa, you've still got to then have, you know, your another test, and then isolate at your hotel. So our hotel for at least 6 days. That's what we've been seeing from the communication. So yeah, there's a lot of factors at the moment. I know we've got in touch with everyone in the autumn already. And Chris, it's always tough to give you like a definitive final answer. Personally, I think it's going to be challenging. I know we've offered people rescheduling. I think about 75% of people now are rescheduled because of it. I know you really want to go, and look, we're like you. We want to get back to the mountains. We want to get trekking again, and it's you know, it's not easy. But you know, the one thing we need to kind of remind ourselves that the mountains aren't going anywhere. We will, before long, next spring we'll be here. We were kind of hoping there's done by then, but we're all in the same boat really. We're all kind of like, what do we do? We've tried to be as flexible as we can, Chris, which is why we've said, look, if you want to reschedule because of the uncertainty, then we'll remove all the barriers for you to do that.
Yeah.
I think, we've put on the website as well, sold out, is that we don't really want anyone booking into a trip with this uncertainty, which is why we've done that. Okay.
Plus they are sold out.
Yeah. I know a lot of them are full anyway.
I think, Chris, if you want to drop us an email into info@evertrek.co.uk. We can have a chat and stuff like that, because there's a lot of conflicting information, as Andy said, so landing on one decision is difficult, but what we're very keen for everyone to know is what we know, so full transparency, what we know when we know it, so you're able to make an informed decision about your trip as well. Nepal has gone back into lockdown, or at least Kathmandu has at the moment. The flights were due to be scheduled at the beginning of August, then the 17th of August, and now it's been pushed to the 31st of August. I expect that'll go pushed again. This is the nature of Nepal. They're probably over-optimistic at the moment on what they consider possible. Yeah. I think also I spotted something earlier, which I think, that there's a company out there now in Nepal saying that they can do PCR tests and turn them around within like 24 hours and things like that. I would urge caution with taking that stuff as read. My main concern with that is that I don't think that's going to be possible. We can't do it in the UK, and that's exactly. They only have one hospital really that can support that type of thing in Kathmandu. They're going to be servicing tests for not only tourists, but also the Nepalese people that are going through the COVID issues. And also, if you go to Nepal and you rely on that 24-hour turnaround, and that's what you've booked your flights around, and it doesn't happen, then you no longer can hit your EBC schedule, so unfortunately your trip's sort of been destroyed. I think email us in, we'll give you all the information you can. I think realistically, Andy, I think we're probably saying things are tough at the moment.
Yes.
Maybe too tough to run a season. We don't have anything definitive, but like I said, you'll know what we know when we know it.
Yeah, we'll definitely update you, Chris, and we always do. I know we've sent out some emails, and we want to be as open and honest as possible, and just let you know all the information that we know. We don't hide anything from you guys. You're our treasured community, so we want to make sure that we do the best for you. We'll definitely update you as soon as we can, 100%. Great to have you all on anyway, and there's some heaps more questions coming through.
There's one really good question on there I really like, because it always gets a good response. So, hey, Hillary Calderwood, the people that don't make it up to Kili or EBC, do we find it's most often because of altitude sickness or being too cold and mentally unprepared?
Yeah,
it's a tricky one. Question. So we've answered this one before. I think we called it like the 5% that don't make it, because we have about a 95% success rate across all of our trips. It's probably a little bit higher than that, but let's call it 95. And so there's about 5% of people that go to base camp and they don't make it. First thing I want to say is that I think the industry standard is around 70%. Yeah. So it can be improved if you do things correctly. I think the reasons are broad. I think most of the time it's probably due to an overall fatigue. So very few people are struck down with like acute mountain sickness and cerebral edema and those things. That's very rare on a base camp trip. It's more altitude affects the body in a lot of different ways. One of those ways is that it makes you don't sleep as well. You might be not drinking enough. You might be getting tired, or maybe you've got a little bit of a dodgy belly. And it's normally a lot of different things that accumulate that get a person to the point where they don't want to go on, or they feel they can't go on. What I do say is that I think as long as you're open and honest with the guides about how you're feeling at the exact moment you start feeling it, almost all those reasons that people turn around, you can deal with. It's very rare few that get to a point where they just physically can't go on. But certainly, I think all of the above, what you've mentioned, if you go on completely unprepared mentally, so you haven't got the mindset to be able to, you haven't got the mindset for a challenge. You're looking for an easy win. EBC and Kili are not easy wins. You have to dig deep and channel some grit to get through it. So that can happen. We had one person turn back from homesickness. Some people get out there and they realize it's not for them, and I fully support that. It doesn't mean they're less of a person. It doesn't mean they're less capable than anyone that does make it. It means that they found something out about themselves on the trip, and I'm all for that. Personally, I think if you've got a sense of adventure, a sense of humor, and a willingness to learn about altitude and what to do, then you're already armed with 99% of everything you need to get to the summit of Killy or get to EBC.
Really, really well put there, Dave. I think it's right. It's one of those things. I mean, as always, I'll always focus on the mental stuff, just because that's where, like, as Dave said, if you're up for a challenge, then game on. Killy, EBC, Machu Picchu, wherever you want to go, it's there. And but these trips aren't easy. But once you do them and you experience it, you'll love it. But very good question, Hilary. I love questions like that. So, I know someone just answered, because I want to bring it up just before we miss it. I think it was Graham. I'll tackle this one because it's. I think Jerome may have dropped it in earlier, and I think Jerome, a big part of our EverTrek community in the group as well, mentioned about solar power banks. We say this a few times, and I haven't really seen any that are any good, unless you're spending high-end money on sort of professional grade solar chargers. I don't think they're worth buying. Just do the Anker power bank we talked about earlier. Lauren, I believe you might have a link to that. The Anker power bank that Dave uses. That's the one that we recommend. It's not solar, but once you charge it at the beginning, it'll last you for most of your trip, and you can always get two. So definitely sort of check that out.
Yeah.
What's your other questions, Dave? Any of you spot? I think Paula's got a good question here. I don't wear base layers in Scotland. Do you think it's advisable on Killy? Yes. 100%.
Yes. You should wear them in Scotland, really. I mean, like normal t-shirts like this, they don't keep you warm or insulated or anything like that. They're fine on like a warm day, I guess, as long as you're starting in the warm and you're finishing in the warm.
Yeah.
But I've been up. I do most of my hiking in Brecon, and I've started the day where it's like today, beautiful, glorious sunshine.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, it's really cold. And if you've only got a t-shirt like this on, it's gonna be really cold. So I personally recommend getting some base layers. Yeah. I mean, like I said, don't go out and buy, the craziest, most expensive base layers, because they can be like 120 quid each. Not needed. Start and figure out what works for you. The first base layers I ever took to Everest Base Camp were bought from Aldi. And I will say they were good for one trip to base camp. And then afterwards they weren't, I upgraded. But that's where everyone starts, so everyone starts, and then you figure out what works for you. That's too hot, that's too cold, and then ultimately I ended up with the icebreaker ones, largely because I run hot. I like to wear long sleeves and zip tops. They do exactly those type of tops, and they keep me warm when I'm cold, and they keep me cool when I'm warm. And also I saw someone mention about long sleeves or short sleeves. Yeah, I always wear long sleeves, because for the sun. So it keeps the sun off my skin so I don't burn. I'm very conscious about sunburn when I'm at altitude. There are some midges and things like that in the lower altitudes on Killy. I've not noticed it EBC. But yeah, I think that long sleeves is always better. You can roll them up, but you can't you can't pull short sleeves down.
Very good point. It's actually because I've got a mix of short sleeve and long sleeve, and it depends on the weather. Like I think it was last weekend when I was up in Scotland, because I've got to be honest, there was a lot of midges, a lot of them. I think my legs were paint by numbers by the end. There was so many. So I'm like, wow. But I did have a long sleeve on, and I just rolled it up. Once you're out and there's a bit of wind, midges go away. Happy days.
Yeah.
But there's not too many sort of creepy crawlies on Everest Base Camp. There's a few in like the jungle as you're going up through the jungle parts of Killy. There's a few on the sort of terrain of Machu Picchu as you're walking through the forest and the jungle there. Especially on Kilimanjaro, you've got mozzies lower down, because when you're in Moshi, there is malaria around. So obviously, we do recommend anti-malarials when you're out in Tanzania.
Yeah.
And as well, if you can get anti mosquito repellent, They're really no, not anti-mosquito repellent, just mosquito repellent. Use that as well.
Mosquito repellent.
I was thinking that's not going to work.
That's like black pudding, you know. So if you put black blood all over yourself, then they'll.
Wow.
But yeah, I did see Paula say you can do join the dots, and you can. And do you know that every single time you do that, it'll form the shape of a mosquito? True story.
Yeah.
Probably.
You join the dots later than midges. Yeah, well, certainly did that. It was hilarious. But yeah, there's some just going through some more questions. I think it was Dave actually. What was it about?
What did I ask?
Your kukri knife, that's for sure. Dave Remington.
So Brian Grist has asked, what about trekking shirts?
Okay.
I've got one. I've got a Bear Grylls one actually, a Bear Grylls trekking shirt. I like the look of it. Pretty good. Yeah, I'll wear it. Yeah, it's great. I do find that I will sweat more in it, so I normally stick to a base layer. But yeah, I do have one. Again, find out what works for you. They are good at keeping you quite cool actually, because they tend to be like a nice loose shirt type material, you know. So they can be really good. And you have a little chest pocket to put a pen, so you look very dignified during the trip, you know. Yeah,
definitely. Someone asked as well about my old blog post. Yes, I think Lauren has put the link there. Because someone asked about, I think I might have mentioned, I used to do some travel writing. Yeah, definitely. I think Lauren's put the link there. Check on my first experience to Everest Base Camp. I did about 10 or 11 sort of separate posts around my journey to Everest Base Camp. It was kind of before the time, if you like. But Lauren has put there's the link. I knew I was going to find it. I was looking for it then. Have a look at it. Yeah, it's a little bit, different because obviously we weren't EverTrek back then. It was a little bit different. But yeah, it's relatively entertaining. So I highly recommend you read it if you go into Everest Base Camp, just so you know what you're getting yourself in for. It's always get good sort of feedback on that.
Yeah, I do. Bernice, even though I'll never go up anything until they put in cable cars, I find all this very fascinating. Never say never, Bernice. Never say never. I guarantee you can get up something.
Yeah, that's my mum.
Is that your mum?
Yeah, that is Lauren's mum, yeah.
Is that Bernice Carter, mum of Lauren? Hello, mum of Lauren. Do you reckon she'd ever make it, Lauren?
If you piggybacked her.
Oh, I met
You did?
Yes.
I met B before, yeah.
No, of course.
Sorry, B.
Yeah, B. Welcome to the life.
Yeah, exactly. Now, welcome, B. Right, we'll be on. Yeah, but wow, we've flown by almost an hour already. Mad.
Yeah, you can't see the hungry faces I've got behind my monitor.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, it's been great. We've talked about sort of layering system.
Oh, God,
if there's any sort of questions that we haven't picked up, we'll certainly catch up after the live and sort of comment on them. Yeah. As always, do drop us an email at info@evertrek.co.uk, so we can answer any of your pressing questions. And also as well, don't forget to drop into the High Altitude EverTrekkers group with your questions. Other than that, Dave, yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, actually. Some good questions on there. It's good to see people on there. I know we'll see you all again next week. Karen Bardet, not Bardet.
Karen's been on here since the beginning of lockdown, I know.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, awesome. Yeah, it's been really good. Look forward to next Tuesday, as always.
Great stuff. Well, good to see you all. And yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.
All the best, guys. Bye.